You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome back to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today. We have another show lined up for you all today. We have our special guest, Kayse Gehret. She is the founder of Microdosing for Healing and a transformational guide with over 31 years of experience in helping healing people. And guess what? She has a story. Just like all of our guests, they have powerful stories, things that shape their lives, shape their careers, and gives them their passion, their why they do what they do. After living with a disorder for decades, she has reclaimed her life. And not just that, she has been very intentional with her process and with her move. I want to just cut to the chase because I'll probably spend another 20 minutes trying to go over every single detail in her bio, and I'll run out of breath like I always do. I want to welcome Kayse to the show first and say thanks for having an amazing platform and resume because, like I said, it takes me 25 minutes just to get through all the details. How you doing today? I know it's Friday, almost time for some Netflix binging. So how you doing?
I'm fantastic. Grateful to be with you. Yeah.
Appreciate you being on. You have a website also as well, microdosingforhealing.com that our audience can visit. But first off, I just want to go back to what I said in the beginning. You spent decades in healing hearts before you was into microdosing for healing. What was the personal health challenge that kind of sparked you to have a turning point?
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, I had a grand mal seizure disorder for years that came on when I was a teenager. But going back from that in hindsight, I can see it came like so many people's conditions and illnesses and diagnosis originated in childhood, probably when I lost my father. I lost my father at 7 to suicide. And it was, I think in hindsight, I just had a lot of grief, a lot of fear locked into my body. And everybody's body manifests trauma in different ways. And I think mine just went into my nervous system. And as a sensitive person, that's just how it manifested. Like some people have migraines, some people have nervous systems, some people have anxiety, sleep disruption. That's just how mine happened to land. And went into the healing arts, studied psychology, studied pre-med. I think I was always trying to understand healing for many, many years. And then it wasn't until I started working with microdosing in the form of psilocybin mushrooms, aka magic mushrooms, that I was really able to feel healing versus understanding healing. And working with mushrooms, my seizures healed and a whole host of other healing benefits came through.
For those who are watching, listening to us, facing their own adversity with their own health challenges, whether it's physical or emotional or both, what does rebuilding from within look like in your own story? And how did that help you along the way to get to where you are?
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think so many people get hung up on, especially our societal frameworks for healing. It's all very intellectual. It's very mental. Like we go to talk therapy, we talk about our story and what happened to us. But I have found in working with people over 30 years, it's really so much of our healing happens in the body and our healing happens at a soul level. It goes well beyond the mind. So a lot of times the root cause and the root healing is at a much deeper level. It's actually the mind is last. We put it first, but it's actually last in the lineup of how we really heal.
You've been able to walk a path of turning a chronic condition into a catalyst for a deeper purpose. I mean, that's easier said than done. You actually have to be in those chapters and face those challenges daily. How did you stay encouraged, understanding that, yeah, I mean, going through it, you probably have every right to become bitter or, I'ma just, quit. What kept you encouraged to say, you know what, there's something deeper here that I can tap into that can get me to the other side?
I think part faith and part optimism and part stubbornness. I that nature where someone tells me I can't do something or something's not possible, I will set out to prove that wrong. So it was all of those things, I think. And I think with myself for sure, but so many of my colleagues and guides, everything that we have ever been through was preparing us for the service today. It's not an accident today. I just got off a call with my last client who's going through a really severe health challenges that he's been told he can't recover from. Like, he can manage it, but he can't recover from it. I disagree because I was told the same thing. I also work with a lot of people who lost loved ones, who lost a spouse, who lost a child. And I can imminently understand exactly what it is they're moving through. So I think life has a way of, everything we have gone through has a purpose to it. And whatever we've been through kind of opens up a compassion for people going through the same thing.
And you talked about being on call with your client. You have a global platform that has supported over, I believe, I've read in your Bible, over 1,400 people across 30 plus countries. On top of that, you find space on your calendar to do a podcast show as well, the Microdosing for Healing podcast. I say that not just so you can plug yourself, but how in the world do you create all this space to do great work and not be overwhelmed?
Oh, thanks. I think the main thing is I love it. When you're doing what you love and you do what you're here to do and you're in that alignment, it hasn't felt like work, really. I've been doing healing work for, 31 years this year, and it's taken different forms. But I'm just super, super passionate about it. And the podcast is so fun. I mean, I'm sure you understand. You just get to meet such fascinating people and hear such fascinating perspectives. It's really inspiring and it's really motivating. And my work, especially, it's so nascent and new, and it's kind of a blank canvas for people to learn about it. There's still a lot of stigma. There's a lot of fear around it. And so the podcast was really an opportunity to give people an opportunity to hear from a variety of voices and hear people's real stories, hear different guides' perspectives of the way of holding this work and the healing that's possible through it.
Once again, listen, I'm Refocus Radio, watching us online, talking to our special guest today, Kayse Gehret, founder of Microdosing for Healing. Go to our website, microdosingforhealing.com. Let's get into some of the technical things, if you don't mind. When you emphasize nervous system regulation, what in the world does that mean to someone who never heard that before? And how is that working as a foundation for everything?
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, our nervous system really underlies so much of the way we move through the world. And we underestimate it. We're not taught these things, but a lot of our quote unquote disorders, whether it's depression, anxiety, often addictions, obsessions, the ruminating mind, patterns, behaviors, relational patterns, all are rooted in our nervous system health and resilience. When we have a healthy, resilient nervous system, we're calm, we're balanced, we can kind of move through the world, we can bounce back from adversity. But over time, between trauma, living in this modern, noisy, conflict-full world, right? It's very few of us move through that unscathed. And so by strengthening your nervous system, you can really soothe a lot of the disorders that we do have, as well as prevent future disorders. For example, a lot of people don't think of depression and anxiety as a nervous system disorder, but when you think about it, a lot of it comes from our mind and having that conditioned ruminating mind. Like if you have anxiety, you're kind of constantly looping on worry. What's going to happen? What does this person think? How do I feel about this? What is this person going to do? Depression, too, is kind of from a very fixed nervous system, a rigid nervous system where you're looping on regret, self-loathing, shame. Why did that happen? What could I have done differently, right? So we're kind of always in the past, or we're always in the future when we have a dysregulated nervous system. When we regulate our nervous system, it brings us into the present.
We hear often popular phrases in podcast world. I can probably pay you a ton of money for a disclaimer. I won't, but as a joke, I could probably pay a ton of money. If you ever heard flight, that is something that we hear a lot on podcasts when we think about mental health and we think about trauma and whatnot. For someone who's watching, listening, and they're constantly in that fight or flight, tongue twister, predicament, how can they kind of get over that, especially if they feel like they can't seem to think straight when they're in that episode?
Thank you. Yes, I relate. I've been there. So I think the biggest things for me are creating the conditions of safety in the body, and my biggest allies in that are microdosing and mushrooms, of course, but also nature, at large. There's so many things that are available to us that are free and widely available through nature. One is just reconnecting with nature. So many of us are like, when we think about when's the last time our feet touched the earth, like really touched the earth, a lot of people can't even remember when that was. When was the last time like we had the natural sunlight like on our eyes in the morning? There's so many things like that our bodies are designed to regulate themselves with the earth. And so there's lots of practices I do with clients that are freely available, that are just connecting with the elements that we have naturally. The other one is our breath. Over the course of our evolution, we breathe so shallowly compared to how we are designed to breathe. So a lot of breathwork practices and postural practices, movement practices can really be paired with, say, microdosing practice and other modalities to help people bring back a sense of safety to the body and let energy move fluidly through the body.
And for people who are Patrick and are still underneath the rock and they haven't heard of breathing, like box breathing is very heavy that everyone's talking about. I'm glad they are, because when I first heard about it, I heard from a doctor. And I've been practicing this like forever now. I'll probably say since probably the pandemic, because that's where I feel like everyone hopped on and created a podcast show. But for you, what's something like box breathing? What are some of the benefits that a person can gain from that? And is it truly something that is useful?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Box breathing is one of the quickest ways that if you're in one of those anxiety moments to bring yourself back to yourself. Absolutely. Yeah. I use it a lot in traffic. A lot. And also too, another one that is kind of, people are like, really? But then they do it and they're like, wow, that really did work, is nasal breathing. Like, we're designed to breathe through our noses primarily and eat with our mouths, right? But so many people, if you watch people move around the world, they breathe through their mouths entirely. And over time, this has really changed and limited the life force that we can move through our body. So a really, really easy one is to mouth tape at night. So you just get a regular piece of adhesive tape. I don't recommend Scotch tape. Get it like one of those adhesive tapes and tape your mouth before you go to bed at night, and it retrains your body how to breathe through your nose only.
I've never heard that. That's interesting. I like that. Now, you've been able to, like I said, support thousands of people through this process. And what has been the biggest difference that you've been able to see between people who get temporary relief versus those who start to experience a profound change in their lifestyle?
Beautiful. So many. I mean, I have countless stories. I think because of my own experience, I get a lot of cases of chronic illness, lots of nervous system conditions, TBI, concussions, Parkinson's, extreme nervous system disorders, migraines, cluster headaches. So I've seen so many examples of people that receive relief and sometimes cessation from things that they were told they could never heal from, which has been amazing. I also work with a lot of people who've experienced great loss and grief, who they've done lots of therapy, but they feel very stuck in their grief. And through working with earth medicines, they can kind of come to a place and a perspective where they reconnect spiritually in such a deeper way that they can find a new sense of peace grief is something you never completely heal from. You're always going to miss that loved one that you lost, but people can really come to a place of peace through earth medicine that I don't think is possible through any other means.
That's well put. And speaking of peace, when you think about the role microdosing plays in strengthening someone's intuitive voice, how do you teach people to not just experience that peace, but to trust it without second guessing themselves?
I love this. This is one of my favorite aspects of practice, because we're all intuitive. We're all intuitive, and we've just been conditioned out of it. And also a lot of the fear and grief that we hold in the body is actually what holds us between our intuitive knowing and in that sense. And so as people work with medicines and start to lose some of the density from the body, they have greater access to their intuition. And so it's kind of just a coming home to yourself, coming home to your instincts again, your knowingness. A lot of people are like, wow, I have a new sense of, I can feel someone's energy in the room to a new extent. I know what someone's going to say before they say it in a meeting now. I have better anticipation when I'm driving. And they're like, is that all that normal? It's like, yes. It's like we've always been able to access this level of awareness. It just kind of brings us home to that again.
Once again, listen on Refocus Radio, watching us online and listening to us on the airwaves. You can go to our guest website. Kayse Gehret's website is microdosingforhealing.com. We are talking a lot about everything that you need to know. Like, you need to know this. If you don't know this, then rewind the tape, or, what they say nowadays, young people say, rewind it and listen to this again. Sometimes we have shows where it's like, you can't digest this in 26 minutes. You might have to rehash this. You might have to go buy her books. You might have to go back to her website, microdosingforhealing.com, and do a real deep dive, because I can imagine your clients are the same. It's not like they do one session with you and it's like, I figure out everything and I'll never need to see you again. How many times do you find yourself have to not just educate your clients on terminology that they're not used to, and also adding that to a new lifestyle adjustment that they have to sustain?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing I would say that takes so much deconditioning is we're so conditioned to think our healing and growth is something outside of ourselves. Oh, it's in an institution, or it's in a book, or it's in a medication sometimes. And that's what's so different about working with nature, is nature's really activating something that already exists within you. It's your own healing. Like, you already have everything you need completely inside yourself. And it just kind of, this turns the key. And then you don't need to keep doing it. It's not that you are dependent on it. And it's one of those things that's really hard for people to decondition from, because we're so used to kind of being sold to in every place we turn in our modern society. So getting our heads around the fact that we have always had everything we need to heal is pretty revolutionary for people.
What's interesting is when you notice a certain person walk in the room, there's a shift. I don't care what anybody says. There's always a shift. Like, you can feel the presence, you can feel the energy. And let's just play a little game, if you don't mind. I'm throwing you a curveball, but you're gonna hit a home run. It's gonna be amazing. Person A comes in the room. They're like top CEO, top in the industry, number one, always breaking records. What do you feel is going to happen when they enter the room in a meeting? Most people are going to stop, right? They're probably going to stop what they're doing, and they're going to pay attention to everything that this person says. All right, you got that picture. Person B. This person always second guess themselves, which we all do, but this person makes it public. Like, they don't chase after anything in life. They quit on every project. they just a hot mess, which we all are at one point. But this person B, they stay that way. They don't challenge themselves. They don't try to reinvent themselves. They don't go to your website and get the help that they need. How you think that crowd is going to react? They probably won't even put any energy or effort in looking at that person's direction. Right or wrong?
I've seen both, to be honest. It's interesting. I think the latter person B, a lot of what I pick up from that type of person is energetic incoherence. Somewhere along the way, their signal got frayed and scrambled. And sometimes that's from trauma, sometimes that's from something that happened to them. Sometimes it's just conditioning from being overstimulated. The humans we're not meant to have the amount of inputs that we have on a given day, right? So a lot of us our nervous systems are kind of fritzed out. And so you can feel that in a person. And so a lot of times they have trouble making decisions. They have trouble following through. They're always on the horns of a dilemma in their lives. They can't follow through on things. And so I love with that person, it's the goal and the root of what's going on with them is an incoherent energetic system. So bringing them back into balance, working with microdosing, but also working with practices like Tai Chi and Qigong, acupuncture, things that regulate their energetic system and bring them energetically back into coherence. With the first person, I've experienced both. So sometimes a person who has a lot of quote unquote status and power in this lifetime, what I actually feel from that person in some cases is fear. And a lot of kind of their achieving has been trying to stay ahead of their own fear, if that makes sense. And that's we see a lot of that in leadership today, because how that's what they're running on energetically is there's never enough. They never have enough power. They never have enough money. It's more, 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 more. And that's how they're running on fear. A leader who is running on love and coherence. A beautiful example, real world example of that. So many, many years ago, I happened to see Barack Obama on C-SPAN. It was one of the C-SPAN in the middle of the night. And he was a state senator at the time. No one had heard of him at the time. And he had written his first book, and he was going to be on a book tour in the town where I lived in. And I was okay. And there were literally 11 people at this book event for him. And no one else there had even known who he was. They were just free that day. And when he walked in this room, it was in a teeny tiny auditorium. Barely anybody was there. But as soon as he walked in this room, his energy just filled that entire space with ease and safety and peace, love, calm. And you just knew you were in the presence of greatness and love. And this was way long before he was president, and way before he knew he would ever be president, based on this conversation. But that's the difference energetically that person can be running on.
See, threw a curveball and a changeup, and you hit 2 home runs. That's pretty good. Yeah, I say that, and it's funny the way you lay that out, because I was going to say that what's interesting is that both types of people can have their strengths and their flaws. And I like what you said about the person who, on surface, right, they seem sharp, they seem perfect, not perfect, but close enough to where everybody wants to pay attention and stop what they're doing. And it's just natural. If you see someone who has this amount of success, or they carry this presence with them, and they feel like they look important, it's easy to stop and want to give all your attention to what they do next. But like you said, the other part of the equation, you said love, right? Did I hear you say love? Mm-hmm. That's powerful, because that doesn't have to be practice. Like, that's just something you are. You know, it's like you're there, you're present. It's not something you have to try to trick people into, or you have to say a certain equation and figure out some crack the code magic moment and you become a genius. No, sometimes the most basic things in life, I just had this conversation with another guest. Some of the most basic things in life are the best things in life because they're so simplistic and they're so organic that you don't have to make some amazing, crazy, dynamic masterpiece. It's already amazing, dynamic in its own self, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the really neat things that happens, we see when people start working and microdosing with earth medicines, is you become less fearful. And so the most sensitive people and beings in your world pick up on that first, because fear is conditioned into us, right? Like, love is our default. Love is kind of what we're meant to be. And we've just lost that through conditioning. And so as we decondition from that, move away from fear into love, all of a sudden animals respond. Like, we have wild animal stories, pet stories, babies, children on the spectrum. And why that is because all of these beings are the most sensitive. They're so attuned and so sensitive to us. Like animals, if you all have pets listening, like, you know, your dogs and your cats like know instantly if what your mood is. They have you they're so attuned to you. And so it's really fascinating. You can see them real time. They're a really good barometer for where you are energetically on any given day. So it's pretty neat to see that difference. And my hope, a lot of what inspires me and the guides I work with to do this work is on a collective basis, how different it'll be if we have a collective society and leaders who are running on the frequency of love versus running on the frequency of fear. Both are powerful, but you feel very different living in the aura of one versus the other.
Well, here's something crazy. All right, I got a story for you. It won't take long. I'll keep it short and sweet in 45 seconds. So I'm walking to my car after work, and out of the corner of my eye, I see this pit bull just running. You know, and we're in San Antonio, so we know we have some stray dog issues, you know, and biting and all that stuff. So first I'm thinking, oh no, I better not get attacked, man, because it was a pit bull. Like, you know, a little dog ain't gonna worry about it, but a pit bull coming at me full speed. And it was like time slowing down, like, okay, what am I doing? First instinct, let me speed walk into the garage. And it was so interesting because that thing was running. It beat me to the open space. And I'm like, dang, that was fast. Like 3 steps is right in front of me. But I'll never forget the moment because you talk about love, right? Man, that dog was so happy. And so my whole demeanor went from, oh shoot, I'm about to get bitten by this thing, to, hey, this dog is so happy. I didn't pet it because I'm like, no, it's a pit bull. I don't do pit bulls like that. But I was in that moment like, okay, I'm cool. I could let my guard down just a little bit because I saw in that pit bull's eyes, and I'm not trying to get deep, but I'm just saying, I saw in that pit bull's eyes, it was just happy to see me. Like, the tail was all wagging. It wasn't stiff or anything like that. It was very, like, chill, no barking, no nothing. It just, and you know how dogs you see, I'm not like a dog lover, but you know how dogs on social media, people will show their pets and look like they smiling. I swear that's what this pit bull looked like. It was just smiling at me, and it probably was laughing because I was Speedy Gonzalez, you know, trying to get behind a car. So I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, man, you know, what do you think about that? Because that is a very interesting thing to think about, because sometimes we misread things or we assume something's going to happen, and it actually works itself out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. When I had I used to have healing arts studios where we had lots and lots of clients coming into a brick and mortar studio, and we specialized in body work and massage therapy. And it was really interesting. We used to watch our clients over time. When a lot of times when they first came in, they were in a new situation, right? Where you're kind of on guard. You know, there's a pit bull charging at me, or I don't know these people. I'm here for a first time. And a lot of people, when they hold a lot of fear, they're very suspicious the first time they come in. They're distrusting. They're not sure yet. They're slow to commit to things. And then watching them over time, just being held in, you know, the softness and graciousness of our staff coming in and having this experience over time. We were community based, so we would see the same people over time. And it was so beautiful to watch them over the course of weeks and months that ultimately they really would let go of that fear, that suspicion. And you could watch them change, like their whole energy changed, their face changed, and just the way they would orient themselves. So that's how we heal. I think as a society is like, do we see a pit bull running to us as attacking us, or do we see it like running to us to kiss us and get pets? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I was that close, but you know, I was like, I ain't there yet, but I was happy that the pit bull was happy. I never seen a pit bull smile before, but I did that day, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I was smiling back from a distance because I feel 1% of me is like, you know, I want to test and see if you're hungry. But on that note, I know we've been going at it for a while, so we got to land the plane. But if people want to keep in touch, obviously they can go to your website, microdosingforhealing.com. But if you're on social media, if you make any newsletters or any other resources, what's the best way they can keep in touch on your updates?
Yeah, fantastic. And thanks for everybody for being here and listening. Yeah, you can find me. My name is spelled very unusually, so I'm super easy to find on social media. I'm on Instagram as well as LinkedIn. And then at microdosingforhealing.com. Yeah, we do a weekly newsletter every Friday and have new podcast episodes every other week.
Awesome. Well, with that, I want to say to our guests, as always, Kayse, thank you for your time.